Like, share, subscribe, hit the super chat on the way in. Hopefully, you guys can hear me. First people in, let me get a comment to know, and we will start our convo. Okay, so yesterday I made my rounds. Went on a few people's panels. Shout out to Green Gorilla. Shout out to the Roger Report. Um, and let's get into it. All right, so let's start off with the Green Gorilla conversation, which started speaking about white supremacy, and a brother came on, and I just want to clarify some things that I said. Um, so we shout out to the brother Big Kev. Me and Big Kev were speaking, and one of the brothers, not even essentially, he actually did call us cowards. And I think he was under the impression that at least Mr. Z and others, I guess, that think like me, that are part of the Black Manosphere, see Black women as being the primary problem, um, and so we see them as the primary target. The problem with this particular perspective is it's not well thought out. So let me give some details. And as I said to the brother before, at least for Mr. Z, and I would argue many of my subscribers or people that frequent this kind of part of the Black Manosphere that I occupy, what we're saying is that a number of Black women, that includes your educated class, that includes your influencers, that includes some of your politicians, some of your entertainers, right? They are not morally superior to Black men. There is this concept, and I don't know what era it comes from, maybe the Victorian era, where women are morally superior to men. And so we allow for women to do the same things as men, but give some type of excuse for it, right? Where women aren't self-interested. That's not a female trait. I don't know where we get this from. Train tracks, train tracks, train tracks. I don't know where we get this from in the Black community, where we actually did really buy into the concept of, like, men are selfish and egotistical and megalomaniacs and unkind and coarse and mean and all that other stuff, right? Curt and all of that. And women, on the other hand, are kind and, as I've said before, sugar and spice and everything nice, and they are selfless, and they are, they are everything, but they are the antithesis of self-interested. I don't know where we get this concept from, right? And I would argue permeated throughout the Black community. I would say no other community, at least in America, has this concept, right, so thoroughly ingrained in their community as much as Black America, right? This concept that everything that ills the Black community, or that ails the Black community, is somehow the fault of a Black man or Black men. We're talking about internal strife, right? Internal problems. And so, and I said this to the brother, and I hope that he understood what I was saying. At least for Mr. Z, Black women are not the number one target. They're not the number one problem, actually. They are complicit in white supremacy. So as much as you hear Black women speak about the European beauty standard and Black men upholding that, and how that's a problem for Black women, particularly dark-skinned Black women, as much as you hear certain Black women on the left speak about Black men attempting to be patriarchs like white men and how that's detrimental to Black women and dangerous to Black women, as much as you hear them speak that way, right? What Mr. Z is arguing is that these same Black women wish to also uphold white patriarchy, but only for white men, right? White men get to enjoy white patriarchy. Maybe other men of color, but Black men, you are regulated to being in polygynous situations, polyamorous situations, situations with LGBTQ folks, situations with black women that tried to flex power on black men and then it didn't work, so they did their whole lesbian thing. Now they telling you no, they really bisexual. All of this weird stuff going on in the black. We all know, by the way, I didn't make that up. We all know the black woman that has 2 or 3 biological kids, but now she lesbian, or vice versa, right? She was lesbian for a decade and now she's dealing with men, right? I'm not talking about your air quotes bisexual women. I'm talking about women that pick and choose when they want to be air quotes straight because they're fed up with relationships with men, right? So what I'm saying is it's not evil to be self-interested, right? Particularly in this society, right? That promotes that all day, every day. It's not evil to be self-interested. But if you are that insanely self-interested, if you are self-interested, you get what you get. And I think that is much of the reason why, at least within the black community, black women, particularly upwardly mobile black women, use the language of community and of community uplift and of black women empowerment, right? And black women victimization at the hands of black men. I would argue that's much of the reason why they use that language. It's to mask and shield them. It's to mask their self-interest and to also shield them from critique, right? Legitimate critique. And at the very margins, what you're getting now is a critique of black women's boss girl feminism. Because black women were playing that game too. And yes, black women were playing the respectability game too. And black women were also being used as a colonizing agent of the black community. This wasn't exclusive to black men. Upwardly mobile and rich and well, not even upwardly mobile, really rich and elite black men, to be frank with you. Right? So it was important that I said that to the brother. I can't remember his screen name again. For those of you that were checking out Green Gorilla's channel last night, you can recall what the brother's name was again. But yeah. So it's important that I say that. Mr. Z is not saying that black women are particularly evil or any of that. I'm not trying to pathologize black women or any of that. What I'm saying is that we have a number of black women, either knowingly or unknowingly, a mixture of both, that are okay with things the way they are. They just want to elevate in this system. They do not seek to challenge it. They do not seek to upturn it. They just seek to elevate within this system. Right? They seek to elevate that. And I would argue, and this is why, for those of you that wonder why Mr. Z keeps on talking about interracial marriage, why going on divestors and all of that, I would argue what you see in the divestor spaces, what you see on the online dating statistics, all of that is a perfect representation of what women of color are on, and particularly for black men, what many black women are on. Right? It's seeking white validation. In other words, these women are saying, and many of what's beautiful about the divestors is how bold they are. They are over fighting white supremacy, fighting white hegemony, fighting white power. What they want to do now is to be chocolate dipped white women and white men simultaneously. The power and the prestige of white men and the ability to play damsel in distress and play soft power, flexing power while playing soft power the way white women do. Right? And so what is in their self-interest is to denigrate black men. And even for the black women that wish to be with black men, they still want the power position. Many of us have already said this. They want the hive model, which is to have black men be their knight in shining armor with an on and off switch. To be the worker bee. right? To provide the security, right? Whether it's emotional security, mental, right? Physical, to also provide finances, to also provide all of that, but not have a say so. And definitely be the cleanup man when things go wrong, right? To definitely be that. So, you know, there's that. Another part of the conversation that I wanted to emphasize a little bit because I had to shorten up my response. Gigi brought up Kevin and you know some of the conversation with women and my response to Gigi, and I wanted to emphasize a little bit and go to further detail about something that maybe we understood in the Black manosphere, but the rest of the Black community and America needed to see, or they already knew, but they pretended like they didn't, so we had to shove it in their face. Um, and it's the relationship between Black men and Black women, and once again, that the moral superior position that many Black women claim, whether it's implied or suggested, or whether it's just overtly said, right? Just outright said. And this is much of where you get Black women are the backbone of the Black community type talk. It makes it really difficult to make that argument when Kevin had conversations with Black women for 2 years that all they espoused was materialism, consumerism, wanting to be upwardly mobile white women painted black, right? They were not nearly as progressive as many of us in the Black community like to make it seem. They were not nearly as open-minded as many of us in the Black community like to make it seem. Right? And they did see, and I want to be as crass without using profanity as humanly possible, they see men as walking wallets and overglorified guard dogs, as emotional tampons. Right? They do not see the humanity in you. I want to be very clear. They may see the humanity in their actual individual sons, but they do not see the humanity in Black men writ large, or even their own Black spouses, Black male spouses, their Black husbands, their Black boyfriends. So maybe we're not talking about all Black women. Maybe even we're not talking about most Black women. But at least for the Black women that call it the Kevin Samuel show, rest in peace, Kevin, and the Black women that often frequent these kind of online spaces and conversations, oh yes. And by the way, I say this all the time. I need to make sure I say it now. It didn't matter what region of the country these women were from. It didn't matter the age of these women. It didn't matter the education level of these women. It didn't matter whether it was light skin or dark skin. It didn't matter whether they played into the respectability, right? They were covered up. It didn't matter if they had chest tattoos. It didn't. None of that mattered. What you found, whether light skin, dark skin, slim to heavy set, it didn't matter. All of these women were hell bent on one particular mission: ballerific Black man. And for some of them, it didn't even have to be a Black man. And there's nothing wrong with that. Once again, in the Black manosphere, we don't actually shame Black women for their biological imperative. What we say is you get what you get. These are the numbers. This is the real. Have fun either eating vagina or being used up by whatever ballerific Black man, white man, Latino man, you pick your choice. But these are the numbers. And it is not sexist to tell the opposite sex, these are the numbers, this is the real, figure it out. Right? And by the way, the guys all the way up top, this is what tends to be their proclivities. That top 20%, this is how they tend to operate. That top 10%, this is how they tend to operate. That top 5%, this is how they tend to operate. That top 1%, this is how they tend to operate. Oh, and by the way, more than half of them are already married. Have fun with the other half. It's not sexist to state those facts. And what Kevin Samuels did, because his beacon was so, because it was so loud, because he blew up so fast, and it wasn't really fast. We already know how long Kevin was part of the Black Manosphere. But when he finally blew up, oh, right. And for that short span that he was speaking to women and focusing on women, which you saw night after night, were materialistic, consumerist women, as I've said before multiple times. A-hole women, mean women, crass women. We need to be honest about that. And that does have an effect on your children, your boys primarily, on their relationships, their intimate and platonic relationships with men, primarily Black men. That has an effect on all of that. And what we did in the Black community is we pretended like we didn't see what we just saw. This is where all your Black preachers come in, and your Black entertainers now trying to cop please and act like they didn't used to watch Kevin Samuels eating popcorn and saying, yeah, you get him, Kevin. Because many of these Black celebrities are dating these same women that are talking down about everyday Black men. Right? What, did everybody forgot how Drake piped that chick that her boyfriend introduced her to him? We forgot? Right? Right? We need to be honest about what this is and why Kevin was so influential. It's not just your sons. And I want to be very clear, the framing. The framing is feminism has taken a hold. Women are upwardly mobile. Men are stagnant. Men in general, Black men specifically, men are stagnant, if not falling backwards. Right? Black men particularly. And so Kevin is this sexist, misogynist backlash to Black women and women in general, upward mobility. And everybody pretend like they didn't hear no women's backlash to their own upward mobility. Right? What did Richard Reeve say? Second order effects. No, women, I want to be very clear what Mr. Z is saying. Women own issues with their upward mobility because they do not actually want to be financially equal and pay equal into their household with a man. In other words, I wanted to have the corner office at this firm, and my husband also at worst also have a corner office at this firm, if not be part owner of this firm. Why is Mr. Z being so overt about what he's saying? So that these people could stop pretending like they didn't understand what just happened. Like they didn't see what just happened. Right? Your own daughters, your own sisters, your own cousins, your female cousins that are upwardly mobile, when you tell them what the true numbers are, 40% of Americans can't afford a $400 emergency. 60% of Americans can't afford a $1,000 emergency. 80% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. The median income the men's income for the majority never passed $65,000 a year. Some 2/3 of men's income never passed $65,000 a year. And only 1/3 of men ever hit $100,000 once in their life. $100,000 a year. When you tell women that actual numbers, That's when you get to see, yeah, they didn't actually sign up for that. And that's what Kevin showed. What Kevin showed is regardless of women's income and education, when he put to them, would you like to pay significant portions of the bills? All of them pretty much said no. It didn't matter what she was making. How much do you want to pay in bills? Nothing. 20%, 30%, 10%. So we in the Black Manosphere already knew that's what it was. We already knew that. And many others around the Black community also knew it. They just pretended like they didn't. All right, then fine, we'll shove it in your face. You want to know why your girl cousin is still single at 42 years old? You want to know why your attractive cousin can't keep a man worth a damn? Right? You want to know? This is why. Right? And it was important that Kevin did that. So shout out and rest in peace to the brother. Right? And so that was my kind of response. I couldn't go into kind of detail with Green Gorilla, his channel, and he's kind of trying to manage things and kind of keep the conversation going, because that's not even initially what Green Gorilla was initially streaming for, right? But it was important that I kind of say that, because it needed Kevin Samuels in his short stint. It needed to be seen. People needed to see that, right? Maybe not so much the Black men part of the Black Manosphere, but others needed to see that and to grapple with that and to deal with that, right? And to deal with the fact that your actual issue with Kevin Samuels is that he allowed Black women to embarrass themselves in front of everyone else in the world. It's nothing that Kevin really did. Kevin didn't do anything. He let your daughters embarrass themselves in front of the world. That's all. Right? Is this your queen? Is this the person you're telling us that we're the sexist, misogynist monsters because we won't do for them? Right? Kevin didn't even try, and he gave the world the answer. Why are so many Black women single? Camera, microphone. This is why. Right? And that's not to say Black men are perfect or Black men are infallible. That is not to say that. No one's saying that. But it is to say, this is it. Even Chrissy slipped up in her own stream, and I need to go back and record that before she deletes it or something. Black men are the easiest to get. ... But they're just insufferable afterward. Oh, no, 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 no. Bring it back. Bring it back. You said we're the easiest to get. Right? You said we're the easiest to get. If Black men are the easiest to get, and yet the divorce rate for Black men and Black women was 80% or something. And then women are filing for like 80% of divorces. Yeah. Huh. 90% of their college educated. Is it really the men, or did we just raise a generation or two or three of just delusional women in general, Black women specifically? Right? So don't let anybody belittle, and I didn't make anything for his kind of year anniversary. I know people were speaking about for his birthday and whatnot. No, I didn't just want to pile on and just make a video. But don't let and don't allow people to make it seem like he just was some misogynistic monster, right? Just beating up on innocent Black women. Y'all always remember Kevin didn't ask them to come on. These were women that were shopping for upperly mobile, upper middle class, rich and wealthy men. And as I keep on referring to the video, this video pretty much tells you everything. One of the last videos he did, or one of the last streams he did, the sister with the chest tattoo, and how indignant she got when he pretty much said, "This is your level." And pretty much she said, "All right, well, if this is my level, then I don't got to do this and I don't got to do that." Da, da, da. All right. In other words, oh, I can't get the baller dude. Oh, I'm gonna just be a straight a-hole to all the men that I can get. Then, and another video I reference all the time, the conversation that Obsidian was having with the lady when he did the stream on Kim Foster a couple months back, right? And she said, for many of us, like, and she used the lead attorney as the example. The lead attorney is our ideal man, and when he never approaches us, we essentially, what she was saying is, we settle for other men and we treat them like the temporary man because it was never supposed to be you. In other words, the Black Manosphere is doing the field work all you loser, lame sociologists aren't doing. They're asking women the real questions, not the ones that make them seem, more sympathetic. Oh no, they're asking women the real questions, and they're letting women answer for real. When that lady says that to Obsidian, that explains the divorce rate and why 80% of the divorce rate is what? 80% of the time is women. What's the divorce rate? 50% or something like that in America, something like that. 1 out of 2 marriages ended divorce, and out of that 1 out of 2 marriages that ended divorce, 80% of the time it's women that file. Because how many women have this ideal when men don't have ideals too? Women have these ideal, they don't end up with the ideal, so they air quotes settle for some dude they think they're better than. It doesn't matter what he do, that divorce is coming. Right? And let's read Kaneda's comment. Kaneda left that comment forever ago. And shout out to you. Thank you for the super chat, Kaneda. And Kaneda says, the guy on Gigi's last night doesn't want to realize how much Black women uses the system to level Black men. Exactly. The system is the reason Black women can continue with the bad behavior. And that's all Mr. Z is saying. If we say power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely, the social power that women have been given, particularly over average men and working class men. We're not talking about elite men here, right? Because they already have reports about 2 years after Me Too, how much pretty much the white dudes is doing this. The elite white dudes are doing the same thing they've been doing. Me Too just took away certain men they thought was either too egregious or too upfront or whatever. So they wiped them away, and now the rest of them is still doing the same thing they've been doing. Right? And so what we're saying is that women know the position they have, and they're wielding that against everyday men. That's all. Right? That's all. And it's not to say women are particularly evil, like they coming out the womb as little girls, as babies, evil. If we're saying that systems, okay, let's make that argument. And it's both a left and a right argument, right? People realize where they could fit in a system and how they can manipulate this thing against others in society, right? And if we're all agreeing to that, then how are we to say, but women don't? Because you have because your XX chromosome, You don't wield this kind of societal power that's on the table for you to wield against men, against working class men, against everyday men, right? And you don't wield that power simply because XX chromosome or because of XX chromosome plus black that gives you a certain perspective and you just have this morality that's built into you or that's socialized into you and you just don't do that. Yeah, maybe once upon a time, not now, right? And that's all Mr. Z is saying. This is not once again about black women being particularly evil or particularly heinous. To be very clear, I don't think most black women hate black men. I think they're flexing the power that white society gave them. It's not about hating you. Most black women aren't divestors. And even if they would be okay with dating a white man, they're not on that. I would argue most black women ain't on that. They just want to still run things. And if occasionally using the white supremacist tool on the table to get you in line is what they feel like they have to do, they'll do it. And then still love you. Right? Oh yeah, human beings are that complex. I know people like to say, "Oh, we're simple." Yeah, we're simple and we're complex. An enigma, right? You think that woman, that husband that called the black husband that called the cops on his wife? You think that wife hated him? Nope. But her actions got her husband killed. That part. He called the cops to help him with a situation because she was going crazy, and the cops killed him. Now she got to live with that. Look at the black mothers. They still ain't learned yet. They called the cops to come flex power on their sons, and the cops killed their sons. You think they hated their sons? Maybe for some of them. But for most of them, no, you just was trying to flex power on your son, and you got him killed. Now you got to live with that. We watch that in the hood all the time. A woman get her little feelings hurt. She try to flex power, either call her older brother or call somebody, call her husband on this man or her boyfriend on that man. And guess what? Somebody she loved gets hurt in the process. You think that woman hated any one of those men, either her brother or her boyfriend or her husband? Probably not. She had a moment of anger and immaturity. She knew what power she could flex. She did it, and now she got to deal with the consequences. Now, Mr. Z is the type that no cousin could come to me with that because I'm gonna throw it in their face all the time. You don't get to play innocent with Mr. Z. I'm sorry. So what Mr. Z is saying here is it's not about hatred. I don't even think these women, most of them, I'm not saying they don't have moments of hatred. I don't even think these women hate black men. They just hate to deal with the consequences of their ideology, their actions, their worldview. That's what they hate. They hate that more than they hate you, actually. And Indigo Flow says KS equals microphone plus mirror. You see? That's all I'm saying. Right? That's all I'm saying. And Toya says KS held up the mirror. We took selfies and screamed, "Hey!" You see? And by the way, okay, okay, fine. But KS has been gone for what, a year now, just about? And how has that changed black women's relationship with anyone, with black men, with white men, with non-black, with non-men, for those same-sex loving women. How has that changed their relationship with anyone? Right? Black women were dancing on his grave. Okay, cool. Has your relationship improved? Or do you have an intimate relationship now? Has black women's collective stock gone up amongst men? All right, forget black men. Amongst non-black men, right? We live in an anti-black system. Shout out to Shay Sade. Apparently, many black women don't get it until it's time to date or get married or whatever. When we get into the intimate sphere, in the intimate realm, that's when they realize they black. They don't realize they black until they get played by Timmy. They don't realize they black until they the black girl crying in the car because the frat bro. I said rat. Um, the frat bro pipes and use them, and then they still go back to the frat bro. That's a whole different conversation, right? And I agree with Toya, and I agree with Indigo Flow. Just just held the mirror up, and the black community collectively cursed him for it. No one's saying that black men are perfect. Like I said before, no one is saying black men are infallible. But the way the conversation has been framed for the relationship between black men and black women, because black women had the microphone, white racist society gave them the microphone. They never questioned why white racist society gave them the microphone, by the way. They got to have the prevailing perspective on failing black men, black women relationships. And because the internet has democratized the town square in many regards, when Kevin Samuels blows up and becomes, kind of this pop culture reference point that people could point to and just say, go watch his content. The black community has a visceral response to that because, oh my God, what are we gonna do with the image of black women compared to black men? What are we gonna do? Remember, we done raised how many generations that, at least in relation to black men, black women are infallible, right? And I watched a bunch of people's response to his death. I watched a bunch of people speaking about it, particularly women, as if what he did was heinous. All he did was put a microphone and a camera up. Wait, oh, I'm sorry. If Kevin Samuels never verbalized the little bit that he did, what that would have did? Wait, was black men, black women marriages abysmally low because of Kevin Samuels? Wasn't it low before Kevin Samuels? Was black women's interracial marriage rate abysmally low before Kevin Samuels? Yes. What about their intra-racial marriage rate? Yes. Was the birth rate in the black community going down anyway? Yes. Have black women already aborted 20 some odd million black children? Yes. Were black women already twerking on tables? Yes. Right? Were people already formulating ultimate energy, essentially talking about black women without talking about black women? Yes. By the way, for those of y'all that don't realize that's a sneak diss to black women, I don't know where you at. Right? You got the white dudes sneak dissing black women talking about ultimate energy. For those of you that are not car guys or car people, car enthusiasts, automobile enthusiasts, let me explain to you. So ultimate energy is, you know, because Nissan Altimas are somewhat affordable, they're really big, full size cars, relatively powerful for what they are. They're not really fast, but comfortable for what they are. And the entry point is pretty. Nissan will wheel and deal with you to afford it, and then obviously that also cheapens it as a used car. So they're relatively affordable, and because they're relatively affordable, people can buy them for cheap, or pay them off for cheap. And that means that your average hood sister that's not really earning anything can afford it. And then they drive them around, they run them down, they hit and run, right? And the white guys have caught on to that. And so they've called it, and some black people too, but mainly the white guys are really the ones who really push this ultimate energy. And when they make fun of the people that drive this car, they say everything but black people, particularly black women. They literally say everything but just calling yeah, we're talking about black women, right? They talk about the bumpers flapping in the wind because it's barely holding on. They talk about the tape on the windows, because the window motor doesn't work anymore and this person can't afford it. They talk, all of that, right? The bag over the windows. They talk about all of it, but they're sneak dissing black women, right? They're sneak dissing black women. They're just not saying black women. They're not saying black people. They're talking about the eyelash on the headlights. They're talking about the spray painted pink hubcaps. They talking about their man dropping them off to work, going to run some deals, some dope deals, and then coming back and picking them up late, and then getting in an argument in the parking lot. They're literally sneak dissing black people, particularly black women. They are sneak dissing women in general. They are sneaking black people in general, but it really is black women. You want to talk about intersectionality, right? And Timmy Fields, thank you for the super sticker. Thank you very much, brother. Right? And Canada says, and thank you for the super chat, Canada. And Canada says, black men with money are not signing up for this anymore. And that's some of the fear, because we're supposed to still uphold this. Especially when you look at the data that BGS has provided about how many black people actually earn money worth a damn 50 plus $1,000. What is it, like less than 20% of us? As millennial, I'm sorry, as millennials. I looked at my demographics. Many of my people are millennials. As millennials, right? It's less than 20%. It's like 15, 18%, something like that, right? That earns some $50,000 plus a year. You're supposed to, and remember, technically that's average as hell. But remember, all of these women are telling you who wants to be with average anyway. Once again, coming right back to Kevin Samuels. The women that are telling you who wants to be with average anyway literally need you to uphold the black community. Even if it's not for her individually because she earns enough, she still needs you to hold it up for her sister then. And this is also me responding to what's her name? I think it's N.M. Hawkins or whatever. One of my female subs that occasionally, says something in the comments. And she said black men shouldn't need. Essentially, she was saying black men. And I'm assuming she is a she. Um, she was saying black men shouldn't need to be in relationship with black men to do what? Wait a minute. You think men do things for women without talking about self-interest just because? Oh, that's not even a black man thing. You think what? So black men are supposed to build, maintain, provide, protect, and not have black women. Yeah, that's not gonna happen, bro. Mrs. Z, why you calling her bro? I mean, if she, hey, sometimes you gotta check yourself because you be in the middle of about to say something real reckless. Yeah, nobody go. You know what? Forget black men because y'all already have. Go pull that with non-black men and see how well I go over. Hey, the vagina is not on the table. My kindness is not on the table. My femininity is not on the table. None of that's on the table. But you better build, maintain, and do for me anyway. Go pull that with a non-black man and see how well I go over. Right. And so, shout out to Green Gorilla. Like I said, it's always a treat to, speak to a brother that, so educated, so, just intelligent and he just gets it, right? Exactly. And Tro says, LOL, like are just altruistic. Like you just supposed to be altruistic. They done bought into their own hype so much, right? They really they're like we're talking about people that are self-interested. Once again, nothing wrong with that. But they have bought into their own hype that they're not, right? That they're not. That's crazy. Everyone is self-interested to varying degrees. I'm not saying everyone is out here 100% me, me, me all the time. That's not true. But everyone is somewhat self-interested. And black women have literally bought into their own hype to the point where they're somewhat demanding that you be so altruistic because they bought into the hype that they are. What? Right? And you know what? That's a great comment. And Indigo Flow says, Z, I honestly think at least some of the reason for the vitriol against these men is because they're airing dirty laundry, and perhaps they equate that to hating women. I would agree with that. I would agree with that. All right. I think a lot of it is that, and I think this is why you have to be careful with words and phrases because saying people hate women, hate black women, calling people misogynistic, so flippantly, just throwing that around, it does cheapen the phrase, and it does cheapen the word. Saying self-hate is, excuse me, saying women hating and women hating and women hating all the time for anyone that offers just any type of critique of some of the actions of black women, some of the way they speak about black men, some of the way they speak and act amongst themselves, or just plainly saying, well, this is what you say you want, these are the outcomes you say you want, but your actions are not aligned with that. And to call that self-hating, to tell a heavyset sister with a chest tattoo that it's probably not going to turn out the way you want, right? You might not get that. Chances are you probably not going to get that six-figure man. How is that hating on black women, right? How is telling a fairly attractive sister out of Texas, because that sister was kind of cute, hey, you 30, you better hurry up and scramble and stop. You're just looking for love. And you're looking for like a Disney-esque romantic, yeah, that's probably not gonna happen. You better hurry up and jump on something before your looks go away. How is that? That quite frankly, that's sound advice. Let's be very clear. And to be honest, he was probably being a bit nice. He ain't telling the last train probably left the last boyfriend you was with. How is that hating on black women to give that advice? To allow her to speak and to tell her, hey, this is the reality. This is how men move. Forget whether white, black, Latino, or Asian or otherwise. Right? Which brings up another poignant, something poignant. Um, for the black women that are in relationship or situationship with non-black men, particularly white and Latino men, do y'all really want to admit how much y'all age gap dating? My man got this, my man provide this, my man provide that. Yeah, because you 28 and he's 42. Right? How many of y'all want to have that conversation? Yeah, because you 30 and he's 45. And he is a divorcee. And he has 2 kids already. Y'all want to be honest about that? You want to be honest that you damn near turned yourself into Meghan Markle's mom, but your daughter ain't going to be a princess, though. For those of you that don't know, Meghan Markle's mom married her dad, and her dad had already been, married already, I think, with 2 kids? Yeah, Meghan Markle has two or three white siblings, fully white siblings, from her dad's previous relationship. Right? Something along those lines. Oh, yeah, and they were racist towards her. That part. And all of that ties in to Kevin Samuels and to some of the conversation about white supremacy, right? To just pearly things, to all of that. And let me transition to the last part. Being on the panel with Roger yesterday was very good. That was what, a 7-hour long stream. Great panel. Shout out to the brother, the Roger Report. Um, and Karine said, no, they weren't. Megan lied on them. Uh-oh. Right? Like Excalibur said, oh, right? And Canada says, and thank you for the super chat. Canada says, don't body shame me, but I can call you Dusty, bro. Don't body shame me, but I can call you Dusty and Crusty, right? And I can imply that you have a small male member. That's why you speak the way you do. And I can question your masculinity and your manhood. The same one that I think that you really don't have, because it's supposed to be like you're supposed to be gender fluid and all that other stuff. But at the same time, I question it when you say something that I feel is disparaging as a woman. Yeah, that's it. Right? That's it. Talking about ultimate energy, y'all. I promise you, I'll be saying this shit, and it happened in front of me. Just at the gas station and made the quickest don't give a F U-turn ever at the gas station. Yeah. Yeah, absolute insanity. So, continuing. So, the Raj report, and shout out to him and some of the stream that he had yesterday, speaking about white supremacy and how it shows up. And essentially everything could be white supremacy. I know people don't like to hear that because it sounds pretty defeatist and kind of conspiratorial. But I mean, 500 years, really 300 years of white supremacy. You tell me different. And that's why I led with the intro I led with. everything from brain drain from developing countries, look at where the people are going, to forcing Japan to open up, to forcing Hawaii to open up, and then and then the business class turning it into a de facto kind of colony, and then pretty much it becoming a state, to the Monroe Doctrine, to Britain's relationship with India and Pakistan, and Britain and America trying to force, well, not trying to force, overthrowing Mossadegh for the oil, to the US petrodollar, to the assassination of Saddam Hussein, and the assassination of Muammar Gaddafi. Like, I could go on forever. To the assassination of even Che Guevara, Martin, Malcolm. I mean, I literally could go on forever. Right? China and the US relationship, China and Britain's relationship, the Opium Wars, name it. All of that white supremacy. The slaughter of the Aboriginal people in Australia, right? The carve up of the Ottoman Empire, the carve up of Africa, the scramble for Africa, right? The fact that the House of Saud is still, still there because the US and Europe need that oil. I'm just saying. Right? Attempting to push Guaido over Maduro in Venezuela. Right? All of that white supremacy. Right? Cecil Rhodes. What's your other white dude that was in Africa? Name him. Cecil Rhodes, that's Rose Color. What's the other one I'm thinking about? Y'all know his name. I can't remember. There's like three of them that every time I think of them, I just think of the devil. It's Cecil Rhodes. Who else was it? What was the name of I'm waiting for y'all to put it in because I can't remember. I can't remember the other two. But all of that is white supremacy, right? Some Art Newstyle was saying it last night. Napoleon shooting off the nose of the Sphinx. All of that's white supremacy. All of it, right? So Leopold, thank you, Indigo. Leopold, that's the other one. King Leopold, right? Was that Belgium? Yeah. Leopold, Cecil Rhodes, and it's one more. It's one more. I think of them as the trifecta of horror. Right? But yeah, all of that is white supremacy. Yeah. You know. The fact that we celebrate Ethiopia because it was like the only place that didn't get conquered by the European powers in Africa. That's white supremacy. Right? So yeah. And that was a great conversation. But then you also have to think about how white supremacy has been internalized by these groups, right? How white supremacy has been internalized by the same groups of people that were and are oppressed by it at varying degrees, right? I mean, the fact that you got a diamond on, well, the dead queen staff that was called the Star of Africa, the insult, right? The insult. The fact that you had three revolutions going on almost simultaneously, if not back to back, and yet only one of them outlawed slavery. And this is me going right to better use point, right? And yet that's the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere. We're talking about Haiti, France, and America having revolutions for freedom and liberty and justice, so they say. But yet only one of the three countries actually means it, right? That says a lot. That's white supremacy. Oh, and by the way, the one country that actually meant it is the poorest country in the Western Hemisphere once again, right? And Better Use says, hell no, Haiti was treated after hell. How excuse me, getting tongue tied again. How Haiti was treated after independence. Exactly. Exactly. Trail said the temerity, right? How dare you free yourself by physical violence on top of that? How dare you? It's not like we were enslaving you or anything, right? And that is white supremacy. I said it before. Like I said, the brain drain coming from developing countries to mainly European countries in America and Canada, right? That interracial marriage rate, even the way some of the divestors, even the way they speak about black men, that's white supremacy. The fact that what the NFL is what 70% black owners, where are they? Right? And Black Uru was saying that yesterday. I just had to reiterate it, right? That's white supremacy, right? That's white supremacy, right? Black women's political position within the black community. Yeah, that's white supremacy too. Yeah, we're just gonna call it. We're just gonna call it what it is. Does that mean that there wouldn't be any black women in leadership positions in a different system? Of course, that doesn't mean that. But the way this is currently constituted, oh yeah, that's white society picking winners and losers within the black community for their benefit. Once again, let's say that one more time. For their benefit, not for black women's benefit, definitely not for black men's benefit, definitely not for black children's benefit, but for white society's benefit, right? And that leaves the masses of black people, including black women, in the lurch, right? And Better Use is, yeah, the level of intervention and meddling is crazy, but none of it in the history books. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Haiti, Dominican Republic, I think I remember seeing a list, and this was forever ago. This might have been over a decade ago, maybe at this point. Maybe a decade ago, of the countries that have been intervened in or have their internal politics like manipulated by the US the most. And I remember Haiti being like, if it wasn't top three, it was definitely like top five. And I think like Dominican Republic was also on there. There were a couple of countries that were like on that list, like of top five or whatever. Excuse me. Right. Ooh. Well, I think this is and Pensive says, Z, what percentage of black women in America do you think have self-hate issues? Okay, so to be a bit kind to the women, oh yeah, Mr. Z is gonna be copping please a little bit right here. Um, I don't think this is exclusive to black women. I don't think this is exclusive to black people. I think when you live on this planet, period, currently constituted with white power, and then particularly if you live in majority white nations, even more particularly than that, America, I think that somewhere in you is a questioning of your identity. I think there's a bit of self hate. I think there's a bit of self loathing, right? Especially for those who aren't critical of the current system and why things are the way they are, or they just take things at face value, right? So I think it's all black women, to be frank with you, but I think that's because I think it's all black people, and I think it's all people of color, right? I think men are better at fighting against it because of the way you're an outside male, right? Men of color, I think, are better at fighting against it because you know you have no hopes of being in, particularly for black men, right? I think, particularly for black men, I think we have a better way because we're forced to question because of being the outside male and what that means for you. And the more we see um black men of note and prominence get their legs cut from under them, I think that more reiterates for you that you, even with the money and even with some political power, let's say you do have some political power, you still know you're never in, right? And so I think that that might decrease a bit of that self-hate because you know how much it's the system and you're at peace with it. Maybe not at peace with your position, right? That doesn't mean you're not going to do the best that you can, but it does mean you understand the structure and like you can question why you think and feel certain ways. Where I think for people further up, that includes women, that includes black women, there's a hope that the that the oppression and the stress on their shoulders will get lighter if they just move like this or think like this or act like this, right? So once again, I think it's a I keep on saying this, and when I say this, because I'm not Asian, you will have people questioning me, but it's a real question. Do we think it's a coincidence that white men, Asian women relationships are the most common interracial relationships in America? When Asian women only constitute what 3-4% of the population, if even? Yeah, they're like because I think Asian community is what 7% of the population, something like that. I know they're the fastest growing population, and I know when they say Asian, they mean all of that South Asian, East Asian, all of it. But I don't think it's a coincidence that we see so many, particularly East Asian women walking around with white dudes. That's self. I don't care what anyone says. That's self hate. That's not love. Not the way many of us think of love. That might be love of his position in this society and his white skin, but that's not love the way we think of it, where you just love somebody because you love that person, right? So when we say self hate, and you even hear how some men of color speak about white women and white skin and these blue eyes and this blonde hair, that's self hate, right? And when you look at a particular race of woman as upping your air quotes stock, I said that word for a reason, stock for a reason, right? Because now we get into some like eugenics type talk. When you see that, like that speaks to self hate to me, right? Varying degrees, right? There's the foaming at the mouth self hate that we consider all the time, but then there's other degrees of self hate, right? Yeah. So that's all I'm saying. And remember who's not fawning over white women. Primarily men of color, funny enough, but really black men. Black men don't rate black. Shay has it on her she has it on her community chat right now. Shout out to Shay Sade. Um Black men, both straight and gay, don't rate white men and white women. We don't. So black women are gonna have to come up with new talking points. Because at least for online daters, which by the way is the primary way that people are connecting now, black men do not rate white women, and gay black men do not rate white men. So now what? Right? And if we're gonna go back to Roger's live yesterday, what does white supremacy look like in the minds of black women who think and feel, even though black men's actions say otherwise, that black men are so obsessed with white women? Who's really obsessed with white women and whiteness and white people? If black men who have been in America since 1619 and maybe about before that, if they are not, if they don't have this insane interracial marriage rate with white women, and they don't rate white women, and you have these other men who just started coming to America in the early 20th century, mid 20th century, late 20th century, in real numbers, in real significant numbers, and their interracial marriage rate with white women has skyrocketed, who's really the people that worship white women? And even the online dating statistics say men of color generally don't rate white women. So it's not even that. And black men less so, right? So who's really the white supremacist in the black community? It's getting really ugly out there. Y'all, some of these points y'all been using, and this is the beauty of the internet. This is the beauty of and once again, rest in peace, Kevin. This is the beauty of the black manosphere. How often did Kevin speak and you heard women say, well, the men get to do it? No, they don't. And what men are you talking about? Oh, you're talking about the elite men, because that's the only ones you care about. Oh, I get it. You want to flex power like the elite men. You're not talking about men writ large. You're not talking about 80, 90% of men. You're talking about 10 and 20% of men. Oh, I get it. How often did, as a matter of fact, the young lady that I was referring to earlier, the cute sister out of Texas, didn't she say that? Well, the men get to do it. What do you mean the men get to do it? Do we need to be reminded again that black women have more children than black men do? Yikes. Do we need to be reminded of that? And that somewhere around 15% of black children born out of wedlock are born to non-black men or are sired by non-black men. Do we need to be reminded of that? Once again, who's the real white supremacist? And the reason why so many people, because it's not just women on this, have a visceral response to black men saying that is because we're not supposed to say it. And I think this plays into certain men's egos, right? Some ego sounds so weird. Saying ego in plural sounds weird. Am I saying it wrong? I think I am. Okay, so I'll find another way to say it. I think this plays into so many men in their ego. There we go, right? Um, they really need to see women as a softer being, and maybe physically, right? Maybe physically, right? And so they ascribe women with all of these type of attributes that may actually not be real or true. So they have a visceral response to people saying, men saying, hey, black men in the black manosphere saying, hey, your daughter's self-interested, and there's nothing wrong with that. But when it fails, don't look for me to save her. If your daughter is from the hood or from a predominantly black area, and she all about the white dudes, or she's all about baller black dudes, and she don't care if this dude's a D-boy, a scammer, a air quotes legal scammer, right? If it all fails for her, if she's always chasing after entertainers or the aspiring entertainers and rappers and singers around the way. By the way, once again, nothing wrong with that. To a certain extent, you should want to be with a man that's aspirational. But if it fails, don't look for me, right? When you have average black man saying, I will no longer be the fallback plan, average black man, so the fallback black plan for wayward women, including non black women, that's not sexist. It's not sexist to sound like Mike Jones. Shout out to all of you that got that joke. It's not, right? It's not sexist to say, look, yes, Mr. Jamal, your daughter. Oh yeah, yeah, your daughter used to date. Oh yeah, she did. Oh cool. Oh yeah. Oh she was interested. Oh, when I came to see you that one day when I came to bring you the. Oh yeah, she. Oh yeah, you. No, I'm not interested in your daughter. Oh no, she's attractive. Yeah, but you told me she dated that guy and that guy and that guy and that guy. I'm not gonna be her fallback plan. Sorry, no, no, Mr. Jamal. I'm sorry. I'm not interested. That's not sexist. Exactly. Better you. Thank you. And better you says back then they didn't want me. Now they all me. Right. I thought it was all lonely. Either way. Right. Mrs. Z been saying the wrong lyrics for damn near 20 years. Anyway. Right. So it's look. That's all I'm saying. It's not white supremacist. It's not sexist. It's not any of that. Right. It's not any of that to say, you know what? Yeah, I'm not interested in being women's fallback plan. I'm not interested in being the what did the lady say? The temporary guy. Because she wanted the lead attorney. She never approached him. She waited for him to approach her. He never did. I approached her and she told me what she was looking for. And I'm like, yeah, nope. Right. Thank you, Indigo Flow. I thought it was just me. It was like all lonely does make sense. I'm just saying. For damn near 20 years, I thought it was all lonely. Mrs. V been saying the wrong lyrics for however long that song been out. Right. So that's all I got for y'all this morning. Look, that was an hour and 20 minutes. Yeah, that's all I got. Look, like I said, shout out to the Roger Report for his stream yesterday. Shout out to Dr. Green Gorilla. I didn't get a check out Dr. Ronald Neal's stream yet. I'm gonna check that out because he did talk. I might do that later on today. Speak about Tucker Carlson and Don Lemon. Yeah, we'll see. What's going on, Dr. Thunder? Right. So yeah, so shout out to them brothers. The great streams yesterday. Great, right? And I had to respond and kind of elaborate a little bit more. It took me an hour 20 minutes. But to elaborate on what I was saying about um the space that Kevin Samuels filled, right? And he just came around at the best time, like BGS said, COVID. He had the look, he had the ambiance, and just using the six-figure man thing as a carrot, and then women just started spilling their guts about how much they despise average men, black women specifically. And that was beautiful because he might not that would not have had if Kevin Samuels would have came on as a regular dude, maybe blue collar dude, and he was talking about average. I don't think he would have got any of that. He would have got none of it. But because he was speaking about, what people perceive as white collar six figure men, you just got to see how much certain black women, not all, because we know a lot of sisters mess with blue collar dudes. Blue collar dudes are definitely piping a lot of sisters, whether they're white collar or blue collar. Um, but yeah, you got to see how much they kind of like are disgusted by some blue collar men or men that they think that even the men that earn more than them, funny part, even men that earn more than these particular women that don't make six figures. It was a beautiful sight. And let's be clear, a lot of those women were fronting. That's why I liked when Kevin Samuels, I used to ask him, yeah, how much did your old boyfriend used to make? Or how much did your ex make or whatever? Oh, it was beautiful. Right? So yeah, beautiful. So on that note, I'm gonna close it out. Y'all have a great rest of y'all day. Thank you for listening in. Dr. Thunder, are you putting up a stream? Y'all go check out Dr. Thunder and other Black Manosphere content. Go check out other non-Manosphere content so y'all don't sound like these people, right? And shout out to the brother, I can't remember what his name was that I was referring to on Dr. Green Gorilla's channel. I mean no harm. And I didn't want to come to you with any malice, but yeah. A lot of brothers, y'all think we think that black women are our number one enemy. We do not think that, right? We're just saying that they're using the tools of white racist society to hit black men up the head with, right? But Dr. Thunder said no stream this morning. All right, y'all go check out other non-black manosphere. Um, oh crap, the poor man's podcast guide. What's going on, bro? Right. So yeah. Zulu, did you say you do? Zulu, you got a page? Yeah, you know what? I am subscribed to you. What am I saying? What am I? Do you got a page? Am I subscribed? Am I mistaking you for somebody else? Zulu? I don't know. Um, Whenever y'all tell me y'all have a page, I just subscribe. Right? So yeah. So y'all go check out other Black Manosphere content, other non-Manosphere content. And on that note, I'll truly close out right here before better you start counting. And right. And Mr. Z out. Y'all have a great rest of y'all day. All right, everybody. Like I said, go check out other non-Manosphere content so y'all don't sound like some of these people, these wayward ass people. Right. All right, everyone. And Zulu said, "I'm me, bro. It's okay." All right, everybody. Y'all have a great rest of y'all day. All right, everybody. PK, you late as hell. PK is like, well, dang, I just got here. I guess I'm late. Super late. All right, everybody. Mr. Z out.